party politics here in Trinidad and Tobago and the effects of the party politics that we have seen, what we have experienced post-independence. Now, joining me this morning is the author of a column in the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. It's entitled Time to Shun Party Politics. With us via Zoom is Mr. Rex Chookolingo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Shah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, sir. Let's get straight into this conversation. Your article started off by saying, even when the People's National Movement is out of power, as in the existential case in Tobago, it still controls the narrative by decrying everything that happens under the party that beat it. So, is this applicable only to the People's National Movement? In fact, how or who has allowed any political entity such powers?
Well, I don't believe that any party is going to put the government or the people's interests before the party. That's just the way. It's just the way the parties work. They come first, and the people come second.
Now, with respect to hatred, and I think that is an underlying issue here in Trinidad and Tobago, one of which we tend to turn our backs towards and become blind to. Hatred impoverishes us. Now, people are not born full of hate. In fact, throughout their lifestyle, they may learn hatred. Is society rotting so much, or has it rotted so much to the extent that it is indeed impoverishing us? And what do you mean by impoverishing us?
Well, when we became independent in 1962, the PNM betrayed us from the beginning. They sold us out by substituting one monarch in Britain for another one right here in Trinidad. So what we thought was going to be an independent nation suddenly became one where ordinary people has no voice. Today, 61 years later, we are now worse off than we were under British rule. Roads and a significant amount of infrastructure was constructed long before we became an independent nation, such as the two-lane highway in Diego Martin, the main road in Diego Martin was 2 lanes when we became independent. It's still 2 lanes today. And we still have an education system that was once on par with the best. Today, it is in shambles. This administration has turned the poor into beggars. Every day there are people at Massey Supermarket, Price Mart, and at street corners begging for handouts. Moreover, these are able-bodied men, and they call themselves window washers, begging for money on the Western Main Road by Superfarm. And yet, a few days ago, the finance minister, Carl Imbert, claimed that TNT is at full employment. He said that the information is available at the Central Statistics Office. Isn't that another government-controlled institution? This is war, a war against white-collar criminals who have taken our birthright and enriched themselves. Over 2,000 years ago, Sun Tzu, the great Chinese general, said, and I'm paraphrasing here, to beat your enemy, you must become your enemy. That's why I'm running as an independent Diego Martin West candidate for parliamentary representative. In order to fix what is wrong with this government, when I win, I plan to infiltrate Parliament and learn their strategy that enriches them and exposes them. I am doing it for the people of Rich Plain where I live and for all the poor people of Diego Martin West. Today, it's time to find someone from the area who lives in the area, who has been here for years. It doesn't have to be a very highly educated person. It just has to be somebody who cares about the people. What is so great about a PhD? Clearly, it does not help the poor. Dedication to your constituents is more important than educational pedigree. Let us prove to the oligarchs that we are no longer controlled by a few wealthy people. They are more poor than rich. We will swamp their numbers at the ballot box. Party affiliation is how the parties protect their own. They hire untrained workers, so these workers are beholden to the party forevermore.
Well, Mr. Chookolingo, 2 parts. One, You mentioned this administration, but the arguments that you're making, it sounds to me as though it's administrations post-independence here in Trinidad and Tobago. And furthermore, with respect to the uneducated and perhaps illiterate masses here in TNT, do you believe that politicians have perhaps recognized this and have taken advantage of this? In fact, do you believe that they've deliberately allowed such systems to degenerate to the extent that they now come to the masses as their saviors, as they come to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, portraying themselves as the only ones who can take them out of whatever hell they may be facing?
They know what they've been doing. They don't care about the poor. I do, and many of us do, but the rich only cares about their own pocketbook. They don't care if we are struggling, if we are starving. They don't care, and that is what has to change.
Let's focus a moment on you mentioned something, PhD, and that is something that is highly looked upon here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Exactly.
Do scholars, I mean, in this instance of Trinidad and Tobago, I suppose it's perhaps up to the average citizen to decide what or whom they see as a scholar. But do scholars make good national leaders?
No, definitely not. Look at all these people at UE and other institutions of learning. Why, if being a scholar was that important and that critical to good governance, wouldn't they be the one running the country? Not, most of the people we have here in government are not even highly educated. But so is it any wonder that we are in the predicament we're in?
But surely, sir, I mean, we as citizens have ourselves to blame as well. I mean, have we taken steps to recognize our downfalls and our shortfalls? Have we taken any steps as a people to try and progress the conversation, to try and break out of this constant narrative and try and move forward in some sense of positive fashion?
Well, we are easily fooled. We have been easily fooled by highly educated people. But it's been 60 years, more than 60 years since independence. Why are we still struggling? Why are there so many poor? The poor is getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. What about all the people who had voted for them, thinking for 30 years? We've had Keith Rowley as our parliamentary representative here in Diego Martin West. He's not even from this area. He's from Tobago. I think that's where he should return.
Mm-hmm. So your intention to run for Diego Martin West, is it out of, I sense, a position against the current administration? Is it against a position against the current Prime Minister? Or is it genuinely out of concern for your community?
Do you think Rowley can walk the streets of Diego Martin West, the main road that I walk on every day? Do you think that he can walk here like an ordinary person? No. He is ultra rich, he is out of touch, and he has no idea what we are suffering here in Rich Plain or in any other poor area in Diego Martin West.
But at the same time, Mr. Chookolingo, one cannot ignore the fact, as you just mentioned, that he has been the parliamentary representative for 30 years. And therefore, and therefore, because he has been elected for 6 elections, clearly there is a lot of favor for him.
Yes, he has a lot. Well, the reason why he was first a politician in Tobago. That's where he was born. Then he decided that, he has more ambition than just being a Tobagonian politician. So he picked Diego Martin West, which he considered to be a safe ENM seat. So going up against anyone going up against any PNM politician in Diego Martin West has their work cut out for them. But I think that after 60 years of PNM rule, well, not totally, but 30 years of Rowley rule, they have to do something different. We have to change the existing way of doing things, and we have to make a difference. We have to vote differently now.
Now, voting differently is one thing, because I'd like to get back to that point that you just made about safe seats here in Trinidad and Tobago. But if we are to do things differently, does it also mean changing our style of governance? Are there criticisms against the Westminster style of governance here in TNT?
Well, that's a good question, because practically every nation on this planet who is democratic uses a form of the Westminster system. So why? And it's clearly not working. Look at America, where they're killing each other, they're fighting, half and half is for Democrats, Republicans, and it's not working there. It's not working anywhere. You know, look at Great Britain. Look at the UK. Look at the predicament they're in when they try to leave when they did that Brexit and tried to leave the federation there. So it has not worked, and it will never work. We have to change the way the system works.
Now, you yourself just mentioned that the Honourable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, he's held that position for 30 years. It's deemed a PNM safe seat. But what is this thing about safe seats here in Trinidad and Tobago? Because it's been said Siparia will be a UNC safe seat. St. Augustine is considered a safe seat for the United National Congress. How did we even get to this point about discussing safe seats? It seems as though the quality of the candidate will never matter as long as they wear the appropriate color for the seat of which they are contesting.
That's true. It's very true. And that is one of the big problems we have here in Diego Martin West and in other areas. Mm-hmm. People who vote for the kind of representative that they think will work for them. But they've been wrong all along. The PNM hasn't helped, the UNC hasn't helped, and here we are in 2023, still trying to find a way to fix all these problems. Look at the crime. The crime is worsening day by day. And I don't blame the criminals as much as I blame the politicians who has created the environment that causes this crime.
Well, that could be deemed as a very controversial statement, not blaming the criminals as much as the politicians who has created this environment. But with the time that we have left, is it that we should accept the reality that any third individual, any third institution or organization hamstrung at breaking the rule of the United National Congress and the People's National Movement? They would not be able to decapitate their power because over the last 30 years as well, both parties have also been able to persuade base voters to align themselves with the other. So, is it that we should start accepting that a third party may not be the answer, may not be the alternative here in TNT?
Well, look at all these new parties that are coming up every day. Every day, Gary Griffith has his own party. Every single politician, Philip Edward Alexander has his own party. Everybody wants to be the prime minister. In other words, they want to be the king. Mm-hmm. That is what it is. A prime minister is essentially the same as the king or the queen in this country and in any Westminster system. Because even Dr. Williams said in the beginning, when people said things about him, he said, "Let no damn dog bark." Sorry about the expletive there, but that is what he said. So you cannot, you have no voice once you choose your representative. So that has to change. The people should have a voice at all times because that is what a true democracy is all about.
Mm-hmm. But surely, sir, if, based off of this conversation we've had this morning, if you had the opportunity to be king, I'm sure that opportunity, you wouldn't think twice about it.
No. I never will want to be prime minister or the king, as you said. I want to work for the poor in Diego Martin West. That's all I want. My area, my people, and that is all I want to do. I want to fix all the problems that Diego Martin West suffers daily under this PNM and under UNC before him.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chookolingo, thank you very much for your time this morning and for having this discussion with us on AM Prime. I wish you all the best, sir, and good luck.
Thank you.
Keep well.